Hey, we got one on the inside board.
Yes, sir.
Get that board released. There we go. Hey, my name is Mark Romanak. You're watching Fishing 411, and we're hooked up. Stick around to see what we're going to catch this week on Fishing 411. I love it. I love it when a board goes back.
Yes, sir.
We got a steelhead on here, Jake. Woo, baby!
We got another steelhead right here.
Oh, we got a double-headed going? Yes, we do. Oh, this is going to be interesting.
Yes, because it's around already. We have a triple on, actually, Mark.
I haven't seen yours. Mine jumped, so I know mine. Oh, yours is steelhead too.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I can't even imagine how this is going to work out. Oh, mine's a big one. This is jumping right at the back of the boat. It's a big one. We got two chromers going on right here,
yes,
right
sir.
now. It suddenly went from being very calm to very crazy. That is something else. That's one right there.
One in the boat, buddy.
Look at that.
Yes, sir.
Two.
Yes,
two
sir.
chromers.
Yes, sir.
That's the way to start a
What
day,
about
man.
that, man?
Two chromers.
Nice.
Oh, that is
yes,
awesome.
Sir.
Well, the cat's out of the bag. We're up on the north shore of Lake Erie. We're near a little town called Wheatley, Ontario. And normally when we're on Lake Erie, we're looking for greenfish, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But not today. Today, we're looking for some chrome. And as you can see, these beautiful rainbow trout. If you want to blame somebody for these trout, blame Ohio, because the Ohio Department of Natural Resources is stocking them, but they come across to the north side where the water's a little cooler, and that's where we typically catch them. That's a good start right there.
Yes, sir. I think we should get these in the box and get those lines back out.
Well, these are definitely going to get iced, and you're not going to believe how good these are on the grill, Rob.
Oh, man.
Man,
oh,
these are like candy. These are like candy.
Wait. I can't wait.
All right, well, let's box them up and see if we can get some more lines in the water.
Let's do it.
You know, we've been so busy catching fish this week, I haven't even had a chance to stop for a second and introduce my guest. His name is Rob Jones. I've known Rob most of my adult life. We call him the Deacon Smash Master, and the reason for that, he's a deacon in his local church, and this guy is death to fish. I'm telling you what, if you're a fish, you don't want to get around Rob, because you're going to get caught, and you're probably going to end up in a frying pan, man.
Yes, sir. Man, this is a nice fish, buddy. This is a nice fish. I have no idea what it is, but it's a nice fish.
Well, we shall see when you get here. But that last run that he took was interesting, because even a high-quality walleye usually doesn't pull drag out.
Right.
So they usually don't have that kind of giddy up. But steelhead, they're supercharged. We got him. We got him. That was worth the battle right there. Nice fish, Rob. Nice fish.
Another nice steelhead. I can smell him coming up off the barbecue grill right now, buddy. Yes, sir.
When people think of Lake Erie, they typically think of things like walleye, maybe smallmouth bass, even yellow perch, but they rarely think of steelhead, and that's a mistake because Lake Erie is loaded with steelhead. Thanks to an aggressive stocking program by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and also the Pennsylvania Department of Natural Resources, there's probably more steelhead in Lake Erie than there is in Lake Michigan or Lake Huron. Yeah, baby. Yes. Words don't describe this fishery, I tell you. This is something special. Absolutely special.
Special considerations provided by Eagle Claw, proudly made in America since 1925. Additional considerations provided by Fishhawk Electronics. Trolling without a fishhawk is called boating.
Oh, that's a screamer there. Oh, man. This is so much fun.
Yes, sir.
I'm telling you, if you guys haven't had a chance to come out and fish steelhead on Lake Erie, you really need to give this a chance. Most people just don't know it exists. And there's steelhead that run pretty much from Point Pelee, little town of Leamington, all the way to Erie, Ontario. So a big swath of water along this north shore of Lake Erie. It's just alive with quality fish. These chrome steelhead. Oh man, this is fun. This is just a riot.
How's it feel, Mark? Is it a good one?
You know, it's hard to tell again. It sure has got to be a steelhead because you heard the drag whistling.
Yeah,
I mean, walleye don't click drags out, do they?
No, and I've seen that board shoot back like that.
So I'm sure it's a steelhead, but the water's a little warm here. Now I got him up on the surface. The water's warm, and I think it takes a little bit of the giddy up out of him.
There we go.
I just said it takes the giddy up out of him. He just made a nice run.
He just realized he was hooked again.
It just cost me 2 colors of lead cord right there. So, slow and steady is the way this game is won. Yeah. You know, and generally speaking, here in the Great Lakes, I think people put a little bit too much pressure on their fish. They like to pump the rod. We like to hold the rod steady and just real slow and steady. And when he runs, you stop reeling, let him run, like that. And when he stops, you start reeling. It's just that simple.
Jumped. He just jumped too.
Oh, I missed it.
Yep,
I missed it.
He was airborne.
Oh my goodness. Historically, these fish came from Michigan. The strain that they were using originally was the Manistee River strain of steelhead. And then Michigan ran short on those. They didn't have enough to spare, so they really couldn't give any to Ohio. And Ohio found another source. So I'm not sure what strain of steelhead these are, but I tell you what, they got giddy up.
They got giddy up. Yes, they do.
I kind of keep that rod down and keep him in the water. Jumping is what we don't want him to do right now.
Steelhead a la bass fishing.
Here he comes, Rob. Nice job, man. That's a high quality fish right there.
Yes.
That's a little bit nicer fish. Like I said, the majority of these fish are going to be 5 pounds or maybe a little less. But every once in a while, you're going to tie into an adult fish that could be as much as 10 or 12 pounds here. And that same spoon that I just caught the last one on is good again here. We're looking at that mini streak and of course that orange crush. That's the color. These steelhead love orange. You know, catching these steelhead is about getting at their depth. There's no doubt about it. And using lead core and downriggers, we're able to get right down to where these fish are holding, typically right on top of the thermocline. But there's more to it. The spoons obviously are catching these fish, but we like to juice our spoons up a little bit with what I call a little smell good. We use ProCure, and it's their ProCure Super Gel. It's really sticky, and what it is, it's ground up fish. And so when we put that on there, we create a scent stream in the water that makes it even more attractive to these fish. So not only are the spoons attracting these fish when they get close, they smell good, and that's what's getting these fish to fire. Definitely works well for us. The steelhead bite on Lake Erie tends to be a trolling bite, but it's also a spoon bite. I've been there many times, and the best spoon for us overwhelmingly happens to be made by Wolverine. It's called the Mini Streak. Now you can fish any color you want, so long as it's got a little bit of orange on it. Our best colors were Orange Crush, and also another one called Copper Jerry Lee. Those two colors are absolutely death to steelhead anywhere along the north shore of Lake Erie.
Yeah, baby. It feels good. Yeah, I'm from Detroit, and I'm right by the Detroit River, and I fish there all the time. But I've always heard about this steelhead fishery over here. I've came here and caught many a walleye, but I never fished the silverfish before. And this is my first time, and man, it is a blast. These fish don't fight nothing like a walleye. It's a total different ball game. Mark, and this one right here, it's a man.
I'm looking at the bend in your rod, Rob, and I'm telling you that's a good fish.
Yes, and I'm not gaining. I'm not gaining at all.
I'm thinking about maybe slowing down just a touch on this one because I don't want you to lose this guy.
Yeah, he hasn't even. The board hasn't even came up.
You're not
yet.
all right. Well,
We're
going to slow down a little bit, see if you can gain a little ground on.
Fish on, right here, right here,
on the rigger,
right here, on the rigger.
Come on, Mr. Rigger. There we go. Oh, yes.
Doubled up again.
Rob, is it okay if I pull in here next to you?
Yep.
We got double header going again. This is getting to be a habit out here, man. This is getting to be a habit. Oh, I love it.
Hey, Mark, you know the difference between this one though?
What's that?
I can't get the net.
You can't get the net. All right, I'm on my own on this one. Every man for himself.
Yeah.
Well, mine's going to come to the net sooner, I think, because I'm obviously on a downrigger here. And this one, of course, is on a spoon too, but this is a little different. This has caught 2 fish now, and it's got something called a fish flash down there. We'll show you what that is in a second. That fish flash is an attractor, a rotator, that helps us bring more fish into the gear. And it is working big time today. All right. Reel up here and see what I can do here. I'm not sure how you did this, Rob. This is kind of a trick here. Whoa! Oh! He's still on. He jumped right over. Let
me have your rod.
Hold on here. Oh, he'd have been in the basket if my arms would have been about 2 feet longer.
Let me have your rod. You take the net. Okay. Fish in the boat.
Man, that's crazy. That is crazy, and that's our biggest fish of the morning so far. Chinese fire drill, man. It is absolutely crazy here. Every time we got one on it seems like we got 2 on. It is absolutely on fire. Hey, if you're thinking about timing to come to Wheatley and target these steelhead, the end of July and the whole month of August is red hot. You want to avoid coming out here later in the year because when the lake flips in September, these steelhead disappear. They go back over to the Ohio side of the lake. But July and August, you can't beat it. Yeah, baby.
Can you say lemon pepper?
Special considerations provided by Bait Rigs Tackle, America's innovator of fine fishing products. Additional considerations provided by the Ultimate Sports Show Tour, Michigan's premier sports shows.
Well, we're going to flesh this out a little bit and tell you some important things if you're going to be rigging this many lines and fishing in open water like this, particularly if you add things like downriggers, diving planers, and planer boards, inline planer boards, all in the same presentation. You got to have rod holders for this stuff. We're going to start right here. I've got a Cisco tube right here, and this is where I'm fishing my downrigger. Now you've noticed that the downrigger's got its own tubes on it, but I prefer to have the rod in line with the back of the boat. So when I get a fish, I can take this out very quickly, come tight on the fish. Tube holders are dynamite when you're fishing things like downriggers. They work great. But for inline planer boards, I want to do something a little bit different. I got to come all the way forward here, and you can see my rod holder tree. I've got 3 holders here, 1, 2, 3. We can only legally run 6 lines today, so I've only got just 2 rods in here right now, but I could fish 3 if I wanted. Why do we use trees? The reason we use trees is because it brings our gear forward in the boat, gets it up off the deck. There's no rod butts in here for me to bump into, so I have the full inside cockpit of the boat to fish, no worries whatsoever. And then when there's a fish on, like there is right now, all I gotta do is take that rod out of the holder and give it a little pop to trip the board, and I'm fighting another fish. Rod trees are perfect for fishing things like inline boards, Tube holders are ideal for fishing things like downriggers, and if you're going to fish dipsy divers and other types of divers, I recommend a cradle holder. This is an interesting thing because most of the fish that we've hooked today we've landed, but when it comes to steelhead, that's not the way it usually goes. Quite honestly, I feel I'm doing pretty good if I land 50% of the fish that bite. So, you know, that's why you hear people say I went 5 for 10 or I went 10 for 15 or whatever. 50% of the fish that you hook are probably going to tear off because they're so powerful, and these jumps and leaps, some of these fish are going to get away. So don't worry if you lose some fish. There's more out here to catch. Oh, he got airborne again. He got airborne again. Oh, very nice fish. Man, these are cookie cutters. What pretty, pretty, pretty fish. We'll get him out of here and grab a hold on him here. Like I said, that's that orange crush spoon that's really been just tearing him up today. Man. You know what? This fishery it's just going to get nothing but better because these fish will just get bigger on average size over time, and they continue to stock a bunch of them. So again, Ohio DNR is doing just a spectacular job of stocking these fish and creating a fishery where there used to be none. So man, you don't think of catching steelhead in Lake Erie, but they're here, boy.
That is a nice looking fish, man.
Just the right size for the table. Another hookup, Mr. Jones.
I got the hook up.
This is getting to be a habit on your side of the boat.
I got the hook up.
You must have been some divine intervention. You know what happened is we dropped the planer board. We had to go back and get it, and we turned around and there was a fish there waiting with your name written on it.
Yes, sir. And he whacked it.
He did whack it. He did whack it. So we'll see if I'll keep an eye out for that board that's floating out here someplace, but we'll find it. So that fish flash is fired 3 times now. Rob, I'm going to have you back up a little bit. Let me cut inside you. There you go.
It's the green fish.
This fish is still hot right here. Yeah, baby. We got him before he had a chance to kick us.
Yes, sir.
Well, Rob just caught another fish on the downrigger, and in fact, his side has been red hot. He's had 3 hits back to back to back on that. And of course, the spoon is what caught the fish, but I think something else is going on here. We're using something that most people in the Great Lakes do not know about. It's called a Big Al fish flash, and it's just a triangle-shaped attractor, and I've got it rigged about 5 to 6 foot in front of the spoon. So this thing is spinning in the water, and it's creating flash, getting the fish's attention, bringing it up into the gear. Of course, then it sees the spoon, and it's game on. So this fish flash is helping us catch a lot of extra fish on riggers we might not be catching. You know, the steelhead fishery on Lake Erie is kind of a sleeper. Not a lot of people know about it, and it's kind of ironic when you think about it because it's only about an hour's drive from Metro Detroit. So millions of people living in Metro Detroit have access to this fishery, and most folks don't even know it exists. This steelhead fishery is not only a sleeper, it may be the best steelhead fishing you'll find anywhere in the Great Lakes Basin.
Nice, man, nice fish. I seen him jump back there a minute ago. He just smacked it. That board shot across the back of the boat, released itself. Another chrome dome.
This is a landing that has not dried off at all today.
Here we come.
Look at that beautiful fish. Man, I can't remember a day like this. Rob, this is spectacular.
Special considerations provided by Trailmaster Trailers, quality custom boat trailers. Additional considerations provided by Procure, ruthlessly effective bait suds.
You know, about half our fish today have come on a downrigger, and the weakest link when you're fishing a downrigger is the downrigger release. If you don't have a high quality release, you're going to struggle. If the release is too soft in tension, the fish will pull and the line will pop out of the release, but he won't really get a good hook set. What you're looking for is a release that's firm enough that when that fish bites, he pulls and tugs and tugs and tugs until he gets his hook driven right into his face, nice and firm. And then when you reel down and pop the line, you come tight against the fish. That's the perfect tension in a downrigger release. And what we're using here, I can pull this up a little bit and show you. It's a red release that we've been using for years. It's made by Offshore Tackle. It's the OR8. It's a little heavier tension than what most people use, but the reason why we like that heavy tension is it gives us great hook sets. Now there is a way that we can make the release trip a little easier, and what I'm going to do is I just twist the line a little bit, And when I put it in there, you can see that there's a little curlicue here, a little loop. What that does is it makes it easier to trip the release. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this down, grab my rod here, and I'm going to go ahead and lower the downrigger. Right there's the perfect depth where we've been catching fish. So obviously I've set it back where we need to. And what I want to do now is I'm going to reel up all the slack so it's nice and tight. Now we're good to go. So when a fish hits that release, he's probably not going to trip it. But when I give it a pop, I can trip it and we come tight on the fish super fast that way. It's a dynamite way of catching fish on downriggers. We have just had an amazing day. Absolutely amazing. You know, you put all these pieces of the puzzle together using lead core to get down, planer boards to get you out to the side. They're definitely an opportunity to catch fish like you wouldn't dream possible. But there is another piece of the puzzle we haven't talked about, and that's figuring out what depth these fish are at. And we're using two pieces of equipment. Obviously, we're using our sonar to try to mark fish, but we're also using a fish hawk speed and depth probe. And what it does is it gives me speed at the ball. It also gives me temperature at the ball. And that's important because these steelhead are cold water creatures. You're gonna give me a hand there, Rob?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Oh, he's a jumping back there. It's kind of weird when you see a fish jump back there a football field away.
Right, you got ups.
Well, like I was saying, these steelhead are cold water creatures. And so you're not going to find them near the surface in this warm water. The key is you have to find water temperature that they like. And 50, 55 degrees is about perfect for these steelhead. So by using the fish hawk on our downrigger, we just lower it down until we find the right water temperature. And when we find the right water temperature, we have every confidence that that's where the fish will be and that's where the biters will be. So combining the fish hawk with our regular electronics is a deadly combination. Today, it's put steelhead after steelhead after steelhead on the line. Just got another line.
Yep.
Here he comes. Perfect.
Oh. Yeah.
That fish ran over and got the other lead core line.
That's a greedy line.
Hey, my name's Mark Romanek. You've been watching Fishing 401. I'd like to thank Rob Jones for traveling over here and helping us catch some of our pet steelhead. If you get a chance, get out on the North Shore of Lake Erie and have yourself a great time. July and August is the time to be there.
Closed captioning is provided by Fish Hawk Electronics. Fishing 411 is brought to you by Offshore Tackle, Yakima Bait, Starcraft Marine, Jay's Sporting Goods, Cisco Fishing Systems, Smooth Moves, Precision Trolling Data, Niagara Falls, USA, Motor Guide Electric Motors, and Lowrance Electronics.
You know what, Mark? Sometimes when the fish is slow, can't get your panties in a bunch, you gotta keep calm and troll on.
Words of wisdom.